Hey everybody, on today's episode, we'll be talking about the DIY solution for a resident benefit package featuring FilterTime, a 100% American-made company with Blake. You got to listen to this conversation. Welcome everyone to another edition of the Property Management Mastermind podcast. I'm your host, Brad Larson, and in today's episode titled The DIY Solution for a Resident Benefits Package featuring FilterTime, I'm going to be bringing on a guest here soon named Blake, and he's going to introduce himself. And we're going to go through what FilterTime is. We're going to uncover some of the secrets to create a fantastic resident benefits package and introduce to you my man from FilterTime. Now, to give you some background, I'm the founder of the Property Management Mastermind Facebook group with over 12,500 hand-picked members, contributing more posts and responses than any other organized property management focus group around. I'm also the founder and owner of RentWerx Property Management, managing over 1,000 homes in the San Antonio and Austin, Texas region, and your faithful podcast host, contributing to the industry with podcasting for more than 7 years. Now, a word on the new format. If you want a question reviewed on this podcast, post it to the Property Management Mastermind Facebook group or send us a direct message. Your comments on there will be reviewed and discussed here on the podcast. All right, so I want to talk further about the resident benefits package. There's been so much industry push for a mandatory or semi-mandatory RBP or a different name, preferred tenant program. There's different spins of what you could call it, a resident tenant program, a resident package benefit. I mean, all kinds of spins of that word, right? It's kind of come down to the most commonly used as some sort of preferred tenant program. And you could interchange the word resident and tenant. I wouldn't get wrapped around too much as far as what you call it. The concept is more important for you're taking a bunch of really good services, packaging that into an additional service that you can throw into the lease agreement. What I mean is you're going to get 8 or 10 or different things. You know, it could be more. It could be all kinds of good stuff. I mean, there's no limit of what you could include inside this type of a program. And this is a mandatory program, at least as far as RentWerx is concerned. And most of the industry is doing the same thing. They're making an additional mandatory byline item on top of the agreed to lease amount. So you fully disclose this, you create a great system, and this is where you can actually win because your tenants are winning. And I'm going to show you how you can do it yourself, because there are certain vendors out there that want you to pay them to do this program for you. I don't believe that's necessary. We've never done that. We've been very successful in implementing the resident benefits package preferred tenant program from day one, pushing 7 or 8 or 9 years ago. I mean, I can't remember how long it's been. And it's fluctuated in cost. You know, this is not an episode about what you should charge. Just understand that you could and should charge that as a separate line item on top of your advertised lease rate. So if you're advertising a home for rent for $1,000 or $2,000, in your comments, you say, included will be the resident benefits package, preferred tenant program, whatever you call it, at an additional XX per month. Okay, now then you have to do the job as a property manager to really go through exactly why a tenant would look at that and say, oh, that's actually a pretty good deal. So I'm going to take you through the RentWerx resident benefits package at length. And then I'm going to introduce Blake, and we're going to talk more about FilterTime and how he fits into the equation, because it's not out of Blake's mouth that you should do it yourself. This is out of mine. This is where Blake dovetails in perfect and his team with FilterTime. You don't have to have somebody else do it for you. You can do it yourself. All right. So this is what we do line by line. It's on our website, rentwerx.com. You can go check it out. First thing, we offer a $100 discount at lease signing for completing a self-assisted showing of the property. So we can give that right off the top. We can give them a $100 discount for showing the property themselves, because we only do unaccompanied vacant home showings. And we've been doing that for a long time. We use a very good vendor named Tenant Turner, and they help us assisted with that. It's been working fantastic for years, so I would highly recommend Tenant Turner. Point 2, we do not offer any sort of additional charges for rental payment options. So you might have heard other people say, if you're going to pay by check, you have to pay an additional. If you pay in person, you have to pay an additional. We include all payment options. You can bring in 40 pounds of quarters if you want, and we'll kick you out and send you to the grocery store and say, bring us a cashier's check or a money order. Or we'll sit you down at our computer in our office and say, you know what? We need to get you set up on automatic payment. Sit down at our computer right here. We're going to set you up with an ACH, and we can even make that a automatic ACH that hits every single month for you. So we walk our residents, our tenants through that program. Point 3, we include a resident portal for maintenance, our payment options, and electronic statements. They have access to our tenant portal that gives them maintenance requests. They can pay online using all our payment methods. And it includes, again, that automatic ACH option to have all of their electronic statements. That is really good for them because they don't have to do any self-accounting. When they go to buy a home, they have all the statements right there ready to go. They can pop those up, send those to a lender. Boom, I've got 12 months of payment history right here in front of you. Free credit reporting is point 4 for all rental payments made during the lease to TransUnion. So we use TransUnion through RentVine. And what that does, it gives them a very good benefit that free credit reporting is already done and built into the system through our software provider and through our automatic payment system. So they're building their credit as they're paying their monthly rent. That's all part of it included. 24/7 maintenance hotline with live phone support. And this is a huge deal. So we offer the 24/7 maintenance hotline. And so speaking of, we've recently switched our nights and weekend call center vendor to the trusted folks at Absolute Property Maintenance. This has turned out to be a great decision. We're using Absolute Property Maintenance again, as we are not getting improved service, not only getting improved service, but working with them. We're working with an entrepreneur that started from the ground up, creating a very needed service for property managers. We trust Lori Wilder and her team to handle our most important maintenance concerns in our challenging South Texas environment where our HVAC issues are never ending in our heat. Visit them at absolutepropertymaintenance.com or find them on the Property Management Mastermind Facebook group and all the comments they are getting there. You're going to be impressed. Point 6, we have a one-time return payment fee forgiveness. One-time return payment fee forgiveness. So if they bounce a check, we're not going to charge them the first one. Okay, that's a benefit. Here are some of the big ones that I really think are going to pay off is the on-demand pest control services. This is do-it-yourself, right? There are vendors in this space that will do the same, but we found that it has become very, very expensive to use any sort of service when there's some sort of a third party involved, right? If it's not direct from one person to another, any sort of middleman is going to really jack up your cost. Our on-demand pest control services allows the tenant to access up to 4 quarterly pest control services. And I say on-demand, they have to ask for it. This is where it is. And of course, we have some exclusions apply. That's all listed in our forms. We offer a free lockbox move-in. And so what this means is we don't require the tenants to come to our office. That's point number 8. We don't require the tenants to come to our office to pick up keys because we feel that we can sign a lease agreement, we can collect funds, we can do an initial move-in all from a distance, and we offer them a free lockbox move-in. Now, we used to or could have charged for that, and most tenants would be happy to pay it to save them from coming across town in San Antonio traffic at 4 o'clock on a Friday to pick up a key. They're more than happy to move in. And this is also where you can do a very good job and stage the property for them. So when they get a lockbox move-in, just brand new lease agreement, they're moving in tomorrow, anytime tomorrow, you can do a really good job and stage that home for them. You could have all kinds of cool stuff on the counters. Like you could have, a roll of toilet paper, and you can have a cleaning supply. You can have a welcome letter. You can have all kinds of cool stuff. There's really lots of good pictures out there. Amy Carnes just posted one the last couple of weeks about what they do for their tenants. And it's a whole array of goodies that are posted on the counter. So when she does a lockbox move-in into their properties, the tenant walks into all this great stuff on the counter that's just kind of like a welcome kit. And I really believe in that. So one thing that also we want to talk about is the renter's insurance and or tenant liability insurance built in. Some companies do that. I've got a couple pieces of advice on that. You gotta allow for an opt-out. If you offer any sort of insurance built into your resident benefits package, you have to allow for an opt-out. I firmly believe that. I think any sort of Department of Insurance, whatever state you are in, is going to mandate that. And it's also good advice from any insurance carrier. They're going to tell you, you know what, if you're going to make this part of the resident benefits package, you need to allow them for an opt-out. Second part of that advice is don't include it in the RBP. Make it a separate line item that is outside of the resident benefits package. A certain Department of Insurance could interpret that fee as you're collecting the entire fee for insurance. So I don't know, if you're collecting 2 X's and you're paying 1x for the cost of that insurance, the Department of Insurance at whatever state you're in could say, oh, you know what? So that big difference between 2x and 1x, that's what you're keeping yourself. It doesn't account for all the stuff I just mentioned, the free lockbox move-ins and the on-demand pest control services and any filter systems you put in. So it's a great segue here coming up. I just want to leave that point is even if you consider offering insurance inside of this new package that you're considering, I would be very cautious that you may be interpreted as collecting a premium. I would say lawyer up. I would say talk to the insurance commission if you can get a hold of someone and find out if you could include that. There are certain vendors out there that are telling you it's okay to include this. And they may not be wrong, they may not be right, but I can tell you what, they're going to run for cover if you come into a situation with the Department of Insurance. They're not going to be the one standing on the soapbox getting their neck strung. It's going to be you, the property manager. So you want to take that in serious consideration. I would say carve it out of any sort of resident benefits package, allow a tenant to opt in to any sort of that sort of insurance and give them an easy button that way. But even collecting premiums can be problematic, right? Even collecting XX and paying and keeping nothing and paying out whatever you collect in is still considered collecting premiums. The wrong insurance commission could think that you are practicing insurance without a license. And so this is what we've experienced last year in 23. We were in talks with the Texas Department of Insurance to correct some of the methods that we were doing. And that was some of the things that came out of that is by collecting any sort of premium and paying any sort of insurance inside of that package, that they consider that to be practicing insurance. Right, wrong, or other, I'm not here to argue with you. That's what we were told. That's what we were forced to agree to in getting rid of that whole issue as a problem. And it was painful. So I'm not going to make it a whole episode about that, cry me a river, but what I can tell you is we had some lessons learned. I would say that's a very cautious event to make sure that you are feeling very good about collecting any sort of insurance or doing any sort of insurance offering inside of the resident benefits package preferred tenant program. Now, here's the big one, the filters. Okay, Blake's been sitting there quietly. He's like, when is this guy going to shut up? So the filters is something that I think everybody should consider. And for a long time, we had not, but I really feel we're going to come full circle and take a hard look at this because I feel it's a good offering. I just didn't feel that there was a quality vendor out there that would provide that filter to our customers, that one that I could trust, one that hasn't sold their soul on any sort of public market, one that is going to be trusted because that is where you're giving up all your data to this particular vendor. You got to make sure they trust them. Also, are they shipping out quality filters? Are they doing it what they're supposed to be? And another thing that's really just, it's maddening sometimes. Are they offering some sort of lengthy contract? Are they doing some sort of opt-in fee where you got to pay a giant fee up front? I mean, there are other vendors that they can do these programs for you. They'll collect your money, they'll pay themselves, they'll throw a great party, and then ship you a substandard filter. And this is where Blake comes in because he's going to tell us more about FilterTime and what they do. And I think the points of difference here are going to be significant. And I'm very excited to have you on. So, Blake, after my 4-hour monologue, are you ready to finally jump in and allow me to shut up for a minute while I can get a drink of water? Blake, tell me about you. How are you doing today? Thanks for coming.
I'm doing great, Brad. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of your Facebook group. I've learned a lot just about the industry through that group alone and through meeting you. And I'm just excited to get deeper in this space of serving property managers across the country. And what we do is we make filters, we ship filters, and we do an incredible job at customer service and billing. And we're just big enough to handle a large volume, but small enough to know the importance of our customers and making sure that they're taken care of.
So tell us about your company a bit more and some of your backers, because I think that's a pretty neat story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a former NASCAR driver. I raced in NASCAR for 10 years. In 2018, I stopped racing, came up with the idea to start FilterTime, an air filter subscription service to homeowners across the country. And I wanted a partner. So I was like, man, it'd be nice to have a celebrity endorser and somebody I know. And for me, it's all about racing, right? So I reached out to Dale Earnhardt Jr., who is now a co-owner of FilterTime. And he partnered with me right off the bat to launch this business. And the main objective from the start is no different than it is today. And it's take care of our customers, and the rest will take care of itself. And we've been able to grow that way. And we're proud of the business that we're building and the brand that we've created.
So there's one thing that you and I had a conversation on, way back. I want to hone in on how long you've been in business, and then kind of your focus, because this whole property management space, as far as the residential property manager, is kind of new to you. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but you guys were focusing more on multifamily, and then all of a sudden, hey, have you really started looking at these residential property managers? So it's kind of a shift in your mindset. So tell me more about how long you've been in business, and tell me more about the customer focus that you kind of grown into now.
Yeah, so FilterTime was started in 2018. I launched my first website in May of 2018. And at first, like you said, it was all about direct consumer, direct to homeowners, right? And after about a year of being, actually when we announced Dale's partnership and we became more of a national brand, we started getting all these requests of like, hey, do you do drop shipping to rental properties or to tenants? Do you sell to apartment complexes? Do you drop ship to heat and air maintenance contracts? And we're like, no, we don't do any of that. We're direct consumer. And I kind of had tunnel vision a little bit because I didn't have this plan when I started the business. And after, dozens of requests, I'm like, maybe we should put together some sort of property management program. So in, I would say, maybe February of 2020, I created this portal where we could give a property management company access to kind of the back end of our website, and they could load in all of their properties or some of their properties or however many they want. And they can schedule the start date, they can pause, they can cancel, they can see the last order, they can track it. And we basically launched that and got our first property management customer shortly after, I think in March of 2020. And I'm proud to say, Brad, that we still have that customer. And to this date, we've never lost a single property management company. They have not canceled with us or withdrawn. We just give you access to your own filter shipping program. We don't have a long binding contract. You can see all of your properties. They're your customers. Like, those are your properties. We just ship an air filter and make sure they get a quality filter on time and make sure you're taken care of.
That's a big difference, because what I like most about you guys is you offer, you augment our solution. Like, we can create our own package or preferred tenant program, whatever the name is you guys decide to put on it. And then all of a sudden we can just throw you into that. We don't have to allow you to do it. We don't have to lean on you to do it. We can create our own stuff. And then you're part of that, which is kind of a cool thing. The other side of that mindset is you're giving all your data away to another vendor, and you're hoping they do the right thing and all these offerings that they're trying to give you, which includes, insurance that might get you in trouble, or include filters. Now, I do want to talk about your filters being different, because I want to talk about the quality of the filters, and also, are they marked? There's going to be some questions that the PMs have in this world that, they want to know how good these filters are. Are they something like you could pick up at a Home Depot, or are they better than that? Are they marked, for delivery, filter 1, 2, 3, and 4? Kind of give us more about the actual filters. Get real dirty on that.
Yeah. So our filters are made right here right outside Charlotte, North Carolina, all American made materials, assembled right here in-house. And we offer 3 different MERV ratings to property management customers, but we really point them to the MERV 8. That gives you, protection of your HVAC system, also adequate airflow, so your system doesn't have to work too hard, and filters just enough to keep all the particles and not all, but a lot of the particles and debris off your coils and your interior components, right? So we always tell people, a MERV 8 is probably the best thing to use. Most of our heating and air customers as well, that they use us for their maintenance contracts to ship to their customers, they usually have us send MERV 8 filters as well. So that's been recommended by the HVAC companies around the country. We have some great partners in that area that give us some good guidance on what we should recommend and how often to replace them. But how often to replace them really depends on where you're at, how old the home is, and just a lot of things. So it's either 1 month or 3 months or 2 months, but definitely a max of 3 months.
Yeah, some more on that. So there's there's been some background here because there's always a big debate of how long, the filter should be changed. Here in South Texas, people should do it at least once a quarter, if not monthly, if not 6 times a year. I mean, it depends on, every other month or whatever. Depends on how dirty your system could be. The other thing I want to ask you about the filters are they folded up somehow, or are they shipped as a whole square?
No, they're the standard filter that you would see, that you're used to seeing, and you would see at the store and the hardware store. We sell the 1-inch filters, the big box filters too, pretty much whatever filter you need from a house. But when the end customer gets it, it's gonna be a filter that they're used to seeing throughout their entire life. You just pull it out of the box, install the fresh one. We have instructions with the arrow, and you ask about kind of date stamping. We put the date, that we sent it. We do it by month, so we don't do the specific date. But if we shipped it out today, right, it would have today's month and year. So if you went in that unit and you saw, what the filter was in there, if it was longer than 3 months, that resident didn't really do what they were supposed to do and change it on time. So you have the ability to track that.
Yeah, and we see that quite a bit. I mean, that's always one of the property manager's biggest fears is like they're going to show up after a year of this program and find, 4 boxes of filters thrown in a corner somewhere that the tenant never changed out, which is a possibility. But those filters are marked by month. And so if we walk into a unit and it's just absolutely covered, filthy sick, just looking, we look at the date timestamp. This is installed in, manufactured in 23. So we got it in 23. And here we are in 24, 6 months later, and there's never been a filter change this entire year. It's pretty obvious that just by the marking of it that, okay, we know that the tenant didn't do what they're supposed to do. And this is where a charge comes in. This is where I'm driving this whole conversation just on this particular point, is because the PMs need to know that, hey, if we're including this in our package that you're paying for, we're also touting this to the owners. We're telling all of our owner clients that, hey, we adopted this package. We're charging your tenant a bit more, but here's the benefits from this. We're sending them 4 filters a year, or 12 filters a year, or 2, whatever you decide number of cadence. We're sending that to them per year, and we expect the tenants to change it. And so like we do an annual inspection every year. So let's say we get a 10-year lease, we're going to do an annual inspection every single year, no matter the lease term. So we inspect the property every single year, and we do a Z-Inspector inspection that's going to pull out that filter and actually take pictures of it. And if it's not been changed, we're going to annotate that. And that could influence on if we want to do a renewal or not, or it's going to influence on what we charge that outgoing tenant in their security deposit. So that is a significant thing. That's why I wanted to hone in on what kind of filters and are they marked, because we have all kinds of both sides of this conversation that rely on just even a simple date on, a month and year on that filter. So I know it's a long conversation just on one silly point, but you'd believe, you watch the Facebook group sometime, you'll see the craziest, not crazy, that's a valid concern. It's just like the smallest concern or hesitation. And that's what I want to give you the opportunity to alleviate some of these fears that people might come into, where, we're not quite sure if we want to use this program. We're not quite sure if it's going to work. The platform is designed to be a very user-friendly thing. And I want you to talk more about the actual user side, because it's one thing to, okay, we got a new tenant, they moved in, now what, right? I mean, how do we add a property, subtract a property? I mean, talk us through kind of this platform and friendliness level there.
Yeah, we've done a great job at making the portal so you don't really need us. And if you do need us, like, we're here, we're available. There's people to talk to at any time throughout the day or week. Customer service is what we really focus on. But the portal itself, you can, once we give you access and do a Zoom call and show you how the portal works, which is about 10 minutes, you can either upload all of your properties through an Excel file or CVC file, or you can add them at lease renewal. And it's literally a button of like add property. You type in the address, you type in, the filter size and the frequency, and hit active. And then that property is active. And we're going to ship that filter on the frequency you chose until you go in and either place it on hold, or if you lose that property, you just hit cancel and we'll never ship that property again, and it deletes from the system. You can go in there and track the last order. And we really made it so like you have your own filter drop shipping program. You can do it all yourself. And a couple of things you hit on a little bit, but what's important to us is like making sure we ship a quality product like we talked about, but also like there's no hidden fees. We don't charge a monthly fee. It's strictly when the filter ships. So when a filter ships out, we're going to bill you for that at the end of the month. So let's just say you have 1,000 properties, but only 100 of them shipped out in August. At the end of August, you're going to get an invoice for 100 shipments, not a monthly fee for all your properties.
I think that's fantastic. The other side of that is this is a best practice kind of from user. So people are wondering, how am I going to get the filter size? So what we would have done or have done is on your initial inspection, let's say you have a property that you just brought on and or your next annual inspection, that's when you have the technician or you, if you're doing your solo entrepreneur, that's when you get the filter size and you document that either in your software and or on your inspection, such as the inspector. We are big fans of them. So that's when your technician and or you is going to get that filter size and put it somewhere in the records. And so we would add it into our software. We would add it into your portal, and there you go. You have a filters record. So you have 1, 2 filters, 3 filters, whatever it's going to be. And they're all X by X, 24 by 24, or whatever the number is. And then you got 1 suitcase, you have 2 suitcases. And I call it suitcase because, you know what I mean? They're like the big briefcase looking ones. It seems to be more and more AC systems have that. And that might be just a South Texas thing. I don't know. There may not be a lot of places north of here that have these giant suitcase filters. I'm talking they're as thick as a briefcase, right? And so I'm sure you have every single size just to include those. And the friendliness level, I had to bring that in because that's always been a roadblock for people's mindset. It's like, well, how do I get the filter size for this property? Do I make a separate run out to the property? No, this is going to be implemented over 6 months or a year to get full implementation into your inventory, because I wouldn't necessarily run out and make a separate trip just to measure filters. And you don't necessarily want to have your owners try to tell you what filter size they're going to need, because that may not be accurate information either. And then you're getting tenants to potentially pay for something they can't use, which generates more phone calls to you. So you want to do this correct from the very beginning, have those correct filter sizes and the numbers for each property. And like you said, it's you're self-managing, and you don't have to rely on anybody else but you and your team to go in there and say, okay, 123 Maple Street has 3 24 by 24 filters. Great. And then you can put it on delivery cadence of however you want, right? You can say once a minute, or you can say once a year, right? Blake, tell me how that works.
Yeah, you can. We have people that do it a lot of different ways. We have some property management companies that just do 1 filter every month to all of their properties. We have some that want their residents to change them every 3 months, but they want to save some money. So we send 2 filters every 6 months and have them change them. You know, they're required to change them every 3 months, but they have a 6-month supply. We even have people that send a year supply, and we do 1 shipment a year, and that residents, you know, they're required to change them, but at least we know they have the filters. So for us, we're very transparent about our cost. The more filters in the box, the cheaper it is, right? The shipping is the most expensive part to us. So when we send 1 filter to a property, that is the most expensive way to send 1 filter. So some people do a little bit different. But if you're looking for just convenience and have a box show up at the door for the tenant, like that's probably the best way. That way, you know, they have it, they know it's time to change it, the date's correct, and that's what the majority of people do. But we're flexible. We offer anything you need to do to meet your needs.
And it's FilterTime.com is the website.
Yeah, FilterTime.com/PM. And we're always making improvements. And another thing you asked about binding, like contracts and stuff. We have like this little 1-page contract that simply states the pricing, and that when we ship it, you have to pay us. And if you want to cancel it, you can just cancel it at any time. I think we asked for like 30 days notice, but you could always just go in and remove all of your properties from your portal, or tell us you want to cancel them all. But like I said before, we've never had to do that. We've never lost a single customer. And that's what I'm most proud of, right? That means we're doing something right.
Yeah, FilterTime.com/PM. That's a big thing, because there are other vendors that are charging a large enrollment fee, and they have a very difficult policy and or contract to get out of. And we've heard some real horror stories there where you may have wanted to take on other clients and they can't get out of this crazy contract they're in because they're locked in for 6 months, a year, 10 years. And the cancellation fees are so outrageous that it just doesn't make any sense for them to cancel. They have to kind of ride it out. So I don't know if anybody really wants customers by force like that. We don't do that with our property management customers. After 6 months of being with us, if they want to, bail out of and leave RentWerx, there's no cancellation fee. We only say 6 months because, well, we just leased their home. I mean, we have to avoid the slicky boys that want to hire us. We lease their home out and then they fire us month 2 for not emailing them back or whatever hokey stuff they make up. We've seen everything, right? That's where, some of these losses come in is sometimes people just don't want to work with you. And when you've been around long enough, you see them come and go. But the no enrollment fee thing, I think, is kind of significant, along with the easy, a one-page agreement. It doesn't get any easier than that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's good for all of us, right? Like nobody has time to send a long contract out to an attorney and pay more fees, right? So we have it really simple. And like I think you and I talked about before, is this is a new space for us publicly, but we've been doing this for property managers for over 4 years now. So we've never done any outbound marketing. We went to our first show a couple months ago, and this is my second time talking about it publicly right now with you on this podcast. And all of our customers that we have been because they're going to do a DIY benefits package, and they want us as the filter solution, right? So that's where all of our customers come from. We don't offer anything but filters. Like that's what we're good at. That's what we know, and that's what we've mastered. So we're sticking to filters, and basically that's who our customers are, is that DIY, company that wants to put their own package together and they need the filters.
And that's what I've highly recommended to anybody, is we've never thought it was necessarily needed for somebody else to administer a resident benefits program or preferred tenant program, whatever the call may be. You can do that in-house. You can do that yourself. You can provide all of those benefits that we talk through, to include any sort of insurance offering, if that's the right thing for you, and to include any sort of filter offering, if that's the right thing for you. And I might be missing 10 other things. There could be, free dry cleaning and free haircuts. And, I need that particularly. But there could be all kinds of things that you could get creative on and throw inside your own particular preferred tenant program, whatever you're going to call it. I don't limit it to what I spouted out, because that's the things that we've narrowed it down. There could be other things that you want to include, and that is going to be your debate. And I think that's how you also want to figure out some sort of pricing model. You want to be able to price it to where you can cover the expense of filters. You know that you can cover the expense of on-demand pest control, for example. You can cover those things, and you don't want to price yourself out of the market either. So that's the other side of that is, okay, your lease is $1,000, and we're going to throw on this 3X RBP preferred tenant program type of a fee on top of that $1,000 a monthly rent. That's called pricing yourself out of the market if you're significantly a part of that rent. Now, if we've always debated this, an example with fee in lieu of a security deposit. So if you're going to charge somebody a fee instead of a big giant security deposit, what's the no-brainer number? And that's kind of where you want to come up with this when you design this whole program for yourself. What's the no-brainer number for a tenant? So if you say, I'm giving you 1, 2, 10 things, and I'm charging you this little bit, and then you break it down per day, and for a small amount of fee per day, you're getting all these benefits that we're throwing at you to include, all these things. And that's where you have to be, as far as a property manager, somewhat creative. Now, you don't have to recreate the wheel. You can post onto the Property Management Mastermind Facebook group, and you're going to get 50 responses about what you should include. And this is where I want to bring in Marley Davis. She rolled out a question last year, November 23. Here she says, rolling out resident benefits packages. And it's kind of like this is what I'm asking a question. What should I do? Hey, all, we're currently rolling out an RBP through and are curious what your experiences have been with collecting payment from tenants. We're concerned that if we mandate enrollment for all lease renewals, we won't be able to collect enough payment for it to make financial sense after paying the required enrollment fee and after paying the large monthly. But also worried that if people are allowed to opt in, it will take us much longer to reach our enrollment and profit goals. What's been your experience with this? What percentage of enrollees are paying their their RBP or preferred tenant program fee each month versus carrying a balance? Is it worth it to require enrollment at lease renewal if only a portion of them are willing to pay it? I'd love to hear how this has played out for those of you who have been using RBP for years. And there was a vote. Over 90% of the enrollees pay their fee every month. And to offer some more on that, there have been instances where people pay their rent and not for their package and not for their preferred tenant program. It's just like any other fee. So in most lease agreements in most states, rent is applied last. So this is my feedback to the group is in our lease agreements here in Texas and most states, they're going to say if you have 4 charges on your balance due, you have a late fee, you have another fee, you have this other fee, and then rent, everything that is paid towards those fees count towards the fees first, rent last. Now that's pretty standard. So if they don't pay their preferred tenant program at a renewal, for example, because you throw a new addendum at them, then yeah, it would be a violation of their lease agreement and you can enforce that however you see fit. So it's a fine line, gang. I'll be very, very succinct with you on this. Is at some point, you don't want to cut your hand off to try and get this whole fully implemented. You have to work with your existing tenant base. Maybe you roll this out just to your new tenants, so it's fully disclosed from the very beginning up front. Maybe you're very cautious about getting renewals because don't force this program if it's going to cost you a renewal, because that could cost you an owner, right? And this is where FilterTime comes in because they're very easy to work with and there's no pressure. And that's the point I'm trying to make. There's no pressure in fully adopting them from day one or else, because you can slow roll their adoption over 6 months, a year, 18 months. Once those lease renewals start coming through, then you can fully implement that inside a lease renewal, fully disclosed. That's always been our mantra is we fully disclose things. We're a full transparency company. So if you're walking into a new lease agreement, here's our screening criteria. Here's what you're going to be paying. Here's your approved lease agreement before you sign, before you give money. Here's what you're going to be signing, prior to giving us money. And this is something that I think is a common sense issue that even Blake would say, yeah, he's run up against the wall too many times as a race car driver, but he's still going to say, yeah, that's probably pretty good common sense. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always transparent and upfront and think, lay all my cards on the table. So yeah, you want to be, as transparent as possible. And like you said, we make that available for you. We treat a property management company that has 20 properties with us the same as if they had 2,500 properties with us. Like, I might not even know they had 2,500 and they only have 20 loaded. I only know they have 20. So it's really whatever they load in the system and whenever they want to do the renewal. And I think, some people probably, I wish I knew more, Brad, but like I said, I'm just learning more about the space and I'm not too sure if our customers are mandating it fully or how their conversation goes with the resident. But that's where you come in. You know all that. I know the filter side.
Well, the answer is all of the above. They could mandate it. They could give it to the option for the tenants. I think that's a pretty good way to roll it out. If you're already at all even nervous about this program, just say, all right, well, let me engage with FilterTime. Let me get them set up and then put it out to my tenant base. Let's say you got 800 tenants, 8 tenants, whatever the number is, and say, look, we found a really good solution for filters. We are fully endorsing them. You can pay them directly or you can pay us and we'll figure it out for you, that type of thing. You could do a focus group inside of your tenant base. You could contact some of your owners and say, hey, Mr. Owner, what do you think of this program? I've known property managers that they're more than happy to survey their owner base on any sort of good idea. They may even have a board of advisors. I've seen property management companies have that where they call up 3 or 4 or 5 specific owner clients of them. They might have 10 units with them or 50 units with them. And so, you know what? I'm looking at rolling out this program to your tenants, right? Because that's the owners. And what do you think of this? And if you understand it enough to say that you feel it's a good system, you can convey that to them and say, look, we feel this is a really good system. We want to use FilterTime. We want to give the tenants filters to their door every single quarter or whatever cadence is. And we feel this is going to, 1, protect your air conditioning. Is it going to 2, protect your home? And 3, it's a really good service that's going to make tenants want to renew with us, ultimately making you win, because a renewal is the ultimate win for an owner. Nobody wants a rollover. And sometimes it's difficult for us to convey that to the owners because of simple financial monies, meaning that, okay, we charge X for a rollover. I'm raising my hand higher than a Y for a renewal, right? And there's a big D for delta between the two. And an owner is going to look at that and say, wait a minute, you charge way more for a move out than you do for a renewal. What makes me think you actually want a renewal? And that's between you and the owner to like fight it out. But I'm telling you, when you put a service like FilterTime in front of them, say, look, this is my experience. I want to get more renewals. Renewals equal happy owners. Happy owners never leave. And a service like FilterTime can help do that. And that's what we want to push into the system. And so that's a conversation you may have with an owner directly. So to close this up, I want to give you a real quick final thought here, Blake, on a few things, and then I'll close this out with my final statement.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for one, while you talk about the owners, right? Anything that's going to protect their investment, which is, we have all these stats, but the second most expensive thing to replace in your home is your HVAC system. It's like your roof and your HVAC system. So, and another big maintenance thing is HVAC service calls are super expensive. And the number one reason for a service call is a dirty filter. The number one reason for an HVAC system failure is a dirty filter. And we have, besides our property management program, we have people that own a few rental homes. They sign up with FilterTime.com, like our direct consumer site, and pay for filters to be shipped to their rental properties and don't even have a benefits package. They're eating the cost just so those tenants change the filters because they know how important it is to protect the system. So we have owner paying for it. So you present this to any owner, I think they're going to love the idea. I know they'll love the idea.
Yeah, that's a great way to forward face. I mean, it's not just, that's also the owners can look at this from a consumer perspective and do the same thing one off. And that might be a real good way to attract a DIY owner. Because, we've been looking at this, Scott Brady has been working on a collaboration. He calls it the self-managing individual property owner, SMIPO. Okay, Scott, I'm giving you full credit for that particular designation. That makes me want to, it makes your head spin when you say it. But he's right. I mean, we really need to go after that do-it-yourself, the SMIPO landlord owner more. And this could be one more tool, one more arrow in the quiver to go after them with, say, look, we have this fantastic program. You can do it yourself if you really want to administer this, right? Or just turn it over to us and we'll handle it all, right? It's the A and B. It's the two sides of that coin. And that could be another great way to look at it. Blake, fantastic episode. Really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to close this out. I want everybody to know to join us for the RentWerx Mastermind Live and in person in San Antonio, Texas, December 12th to 13th in 2024. This is a limited event with only 8 spots available. This live mastermind puts our entire playbook from RentWerx in your hands for immediate implementation, including all of our forms, processes, best practices, and vendor contacts. You're also going to learn from our other attendees how they operate their business, what their challenges are, and we'll walk away with a goal set for 2025 with our EOS goal planning session to include free advice from our registered CPA. Our first event was sold out and a fantastic event. Our participants raved about their experience and left us video testimonials. Go to rwmastermind.com to watch reviews from the past attendees and get signed up there, rwmastermind.com. Again, Blake, thanks for joining us. You've been a fantastic guest. I really appreciate you coming on. Look forward to working with you guys very much in the future.